Well, it is a good thing we have the media on the case to show us what's really happening in Iran. Martha Raddatz, she's an ABC News reporter. She was in Iran, and she had just great coverage of what was really going on. Let's listen in.
A powerful combination of grief and anger with shouts of death to America echoing through the streets around us. This morning, mourners filling the streets of Iran's capital of Tehran for the funeral of General Soleimani, killed by that U.S. drone strike last week. Aerial images capturing the sea of Iranians packing the streets to pay tribute to a man revered by many here.
Trump made a big mistake. He killed our hero.
Soleimani's image everywhere. The impact of his death profound. The crowds are massive and emotional. There are many tears here, many signs with Soleimani's picture on them, but the message is also very clear. These people want revenge.
Are we human or not?
As we made our way through the streets of Tehran, people surrounding us, shouting death to America.
We will have very hard revenge of Mr. Trump.
Inside the funeral service, the emotion just as powerful. The supreme leader of Iran weeping and praying over a coffin draped in the Iraqi flag.
Man, I feel bad about this. Okay, let's play a personal game. Let's go in a time tunnel, and let's say this is 1941-42, and the United States kills Himmler or Goering, and the news goes to Germany. What do you expect to find? What would you expect to find?
I would expect, perhaps, many, many people mourning the death of their hero.
And calling for the death of America.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Soleimani, I mean, Goering, yeah. Himmler, yeah. Uh-huh. I mean, I could look at Himmler and I could, well, let's just go to Himmler. Heinrich Luitpold Himmler.
Luitpold, it's a solid middle name.
It's a
Luitpold.
solid, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, he was one of the most powerful men in Nazi Germany. Okay. Main architect of the final solution. Well, this guy's the main architect of the destruction of Israel and the destruction of all Jews. So it's kind of the same thing. A member of the Reserve Battalion during World War I. He didn't see active service, blah, blah, blah. But then he developed the SS. What is that? Stormtroopers.
The
what
ROTC.
do you think? What do you think that is?
Yeah.
I mean, he's Himmler. Now, would we be mourning the death of Himmler? Would we expect to see Hitler weeping over the coffin? Of course we would. Would we expect Hitler to be saying, "Oh my gosh, this is a travesty. This is absolutely wrong"? The question is, would the American press play along with it? Or would they have the guts to say what was really going on? Well, let me answer that question for you. Christian Science Monitor. The train arrived punctually, not long after Adolf Hitler's rise in power, and traffic was well regulated. Germany has policemen in new smart blue uniforms that keep order. I have so far found quietness, order, and civility. They're not the slightest sign of anything unusual afoot. Christian Science Monitor. As for the harrowing stories of Jews being mistreated, they seem to only apply to a small portion of the Jews, but most of which were not in any way molested. Let's see. Let's go to the Philadelphia Evening Bulletin. There have been indications of moderation on Hitler's part. The Cleveland Press on January 31st to 33 said appointment of Hitler as the German chancellor may not be such a threat to world peace as it appears at first blush, because there's a new moderation in Hitler on his rise to power. The New York Evening Post. They report that there is an indeterminate number of Jews that have been killed. Hundreds of Jews have been beaten and tortured. Thousands of Jews have fled. Thousands of Jews have been or will be deprived of their livelihood, all because of Germany's 600,000 Jews that are now living in terror. Okay, there's one that's telling the truth. Yeah, but the New York Times said German violence has been spent. Prosperity and happiness is soon going to prevail. The New York Herald Tribune's Berlin correspondent asserted that while the situation of German Jewry was an unhappy one, the atrocity stories are exaggerated and unfounded. The American press did exactly the same thing with Nazi Germany. They listened to the propaganda because they listen with their American ears. Now, that's not what's happening today. They're not listening with their American ears. They're listening with their ears that hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump said that the press is an enemy of the people. And I didn't like that because I don't like anything that smacks of going against the First Amendment. I just don't like it. However, today, I don't think he went far enough. Let's look what the American press is for. The American press, many of them, up until the very end, were for Hitler. They were for Mussolini. They were for Stalin. They were for the Russian Revolution. They were against America with the Soviet Union. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. I remember hearing from the press how great the Soviet Union really was, how it was Ronald Reagan who was the real warmonger and was going to get us all killed. Gee, something else happened. I've heard from this press how great Chavez is. I've heard from this press Castro was a hero to his people. I've heard that about Ahmadinejad. I've heard all of the bad things that we did to Iran that, yeah, we did. We put the Shah in and we helped him stay. Should we be involved in other people's countries? No. But wait a minute. Then why is it you have such a hard time? Because that's what they would say. We did all these horrible things all around the world. I agree with you. We should butt out of other people's business. However, why won't you look into what Caramella and everybody else involved in the Trump phone call are actually doing in the State Department? Why won't you talk about how the Arab Spring was pretty much run from our Oval Office? How come you didn't have a problem with what happened in Libya? The only time you seem to be for anything is when it means big oppressive government doing something to the people or to the people of a foreign country because your leader is there. I don't think Americans feel this way. I think Americans, I hope, I don't even know who America is anymore right now. I know who a good portion are that are silent. But I think a good number of silent Americans who better not be silent much longer, they feel like, for instance, we got to get out of Iraq. We got to get out of Iraq. Let's stop this war. I think most Americans feel that way. Now, I'd like to throw a wrinkle in that. You cannot get out of Iraq today. You can't. Why? Because what did Ronald Reagan do? Because he listened to the State Department buffoons. What did he do when the Marine barracks in Beirut were bombed? He was told, you'll make things much, much worse, so just pull out, just get out of there. Well, what did that do? We now know that Osama bin Laden saw that and went, whoa, you can make this giant move. If we move out of Iraq today, 6 months, 8 months, a year from now, maybe different, but if we move out of Iraq, because there's nothing more I want. You got to get out of Iraq. Don't tempt us to do the things that we want to do. Because I'd like to get out of Iraq. You know, if the Iraqi people decide, oh, America's a problem, fine. You won't see us in your neighborhood again. That's my feeling. Bye-bye. Too much blood, too much treasure, and you don't want freedom. So go ahead. However, what we're talking about today is teaching the Middle East, and especially Iran, that they can move us. We've already taught them that they can take our embassy. They did it in 1979 until Reagan was sworn in. Then they did it in Benghazi. The guy we killed is responsible for Benghazi. That was his plan. You didn't know about it. Why? Because the press never reported it. They just went with the big state guy that they just love, and the big state woman, Hillary Clinton, who they just love. Then they attack our embassy in Iraq. What are we supposed to do? Just take it? They have somebody, a Himmler or a Goering, who is planning on killing our troops and has a long record of killing our troops beyond the misery and the torture that he has provided all over the Middle East. And our press mourns. Our press gets there right away to cover this funeral, as they should cover the funeral. Let me ask you this, Martha. Are you a strong woman? You believe in equal women's rights, and you believe in all of that, and you believe that you can do anything. Girl power. I bet you do. Then why are you wearing your headscarf? You know you're in a group of people, if your headscarf blows off, they kill you. Because you're not really fully a person. You're just a woman. And you're making excuses for these people? You're not an enemy of the American people. You are an enemy of anyone who stands up for freedom. You should cover that. And I'd even give you a break if you were covering it just without any kind of commentary on it. You were just covering it, as long as ABC News was saying beforehand, we had to make special deals to get in here so we could cover this, and special deals so we could get her out afterwards. We'd understand. But you are an organ for evil. And that's all of the press. You've done it before. This is nothing new. America, wake the hell up.